Prince William took charge inside Buckingham Palace. Camilla was removed from the Queen's private chambers and Anne was summoned. But that was the moment protocol shattered. By the end, the real chain of command is undeniable. The late Queen's private chambers are the most symbolically loaded space in the British monarchy. Access signals who inherits not just a title, but a legacy. And whoever controls that space controls the narrative of what the monarchy becomes. Camilla's presence there was read by insiders as exactly that, a claim on Elizabeth's legacy. And that is precisely what William could not allow. If you'd asked anyone in Britain about Camilla Parker Bowles back in 1997, they would have told you she was the most despised woman in the country. They had no idea. Camilla's transformation from public villain to Queen consort to Queen is one of the most calculated long-game rehabilitations in modern royal history. It did not happen by accident. It happened through decades of quiet positioning, strategic patience, and the steady accumulation of institutional trust, one carefully managed public appearance at a time. And then Camilla made the one decision that changed everything. She stopped playing defense and started playing offense. In the weeks that followed, William would understand exactly what this meant for the institution he is destined to lead. The chambers were not just a flashpoint, they were the line, and Camilla had crossed it. Post-coronation, Camilla's team began asserting influence, not just ceremonially, but structurally. Staff scheduling, household logistics, access to key palace spaces, all of it began quietly shifting in her direction. No announcements, no confrontations, just a slow gravitational pull toward a new center of power. The financial signals were impossible to ignore. King Charles used palace resources to facilitate the purchase of a property valued at £5 million adjacent to Camilla's own Wiltshire estate. That is not a coincidence of geography. That is a statement of merged households and merged authority. Insiders describe Camilla's team quietly repositioning her presence within the infrastructure of the household itself. The word used repeatedly is embedded. Just when William's team thought they'd contained the damage, Camilla's influence expanded further, reaching toward the one space that was never supposed to be touched. If you're wondering how that's even legal, so is everyone else. Because it was never about legality. It was about audacity. And William watched every inch of that encroachment with the cold patience of a man already planning his response. Think of Princess Anne as a loaded instrument that has been sitting in a glass case for decades, visible to everyone, touched by no one, waiting for the moment when the stakes were high enough to justify breaking the glass. William broke the glass. Anne's record inside the royal family is not a matter of opinion. Between 2002 and 2022, she completed more than 11,000 royal engagements, a number that dwarfs every other working royal by a margin that is almost embarrassing. 11,000. That is not dedication. That is doctrine. Anne treats royal service as a discipline, not a duty. And the distinction matters enormously when you need someone whose moral authority inside the institution is beyond challenge. In November 2022, King Charles himself legislated Anne into the role of Councillor of State, one of the constitutional backup mechanisms to the monarch. That is not a ceremonial gesture. That is a legal instrument of enormous weight. Charles handed Anne a lever. He just did not anticipate that William would be the one to pull it. Anne's bond with the late Queen Elizabeth II is publicly understood and institutionally unimpeachable. She was the one who walked beside the coffin as it travelled from Balmoral to Edinburgh. She stood vigil. She did not perform grief. She embodied it. And inside the palace, that history carries a specific kind of authority that no title can manufacture and no amount of public relations can replicate. Anne operates without ego, without leaks, and without drama. In a household where every whisper eventually finds its way to a tabloid, Anne is a sealed room. She does not brief journalists. She does not cultivate favourites among the press. She simply works, and her work speaks with a clarity that makes her the perfect instrument for a sensitive internal operation, one that needed to be felt without being announced. William's calculation was precise. Anne's presence in any institutional confrontation automatically elevates it above personal conflict. She does not represent William's ambition. She represents Elizabeth's legacy. And that is a position that even Camilla's most loyal allies inside the household cannot argue against. There is a specific kind of power move that leaves no fingerprints. No memo, no meeting, no press release. Just a shift in the air, and suddenly, everyone inside the building understands that something has changed permanently. That is exactly what William executed. But here's the detail that everyone missed at the time. William did not move impulsively. He identified a precise window, a moment when Charles was occupied with external commitments, and Camilla's presence in the private chambers was at its most exposed, most informal, and therefore most vulnerable to a clean institutional correction. Anne was deployed not as William's enforcer, but as the institutional face of the intervention. Her presence transformed the entire operation. What could have read as a son challenging his father's wife became something far more powerful. A senior royal with constitutional standing and unimpeachable loyalty to Elizabeth II, asserting that the late Queen's personal space deserved preservation and protection. That framing was everything. Staff received clear instruction. The late Queen's private chambers were to be treated as a preserved space. Access was to be restricted. The language used was respectful, procedural, and completely final. There was no room for negotiation embedded in the delivery. Camilla's personal items and the informal markers of her expanded influence were quietly walked back. No confrontation in the corridors, no raised voices, no story handed to a royal correspondent. Just a clean, quiet, decisive correction. The message that moved through the palace hierarchy in the aftermath was not spoken aloud. It did not need to be. William's authority over the monarchy's future is not a request. It is not a preference. It is not open to a counteroffer. The Chambers incident made that plain to every person inside that institution who needed to understand where the real power was already beginning to settle. Charles is a man caught between two gravitational forces, and he has been for most of his adult life. On one side, the woman he waited 30 years to make his queen. On the other, the son who will inherit everything he has built. The Chambers incident placed him directly in the eye of that storm, and his response, or rather, his deliberate absence of response, told the entire story. Charles has spent decades constructing Camilla's legitimacy inside the institution. Her path from the most publicly reviled figure in the monarchy to a crowned queen required his sustained, unwavering political capital. Every step of that journey cost him something. Her removal from any space, even informally, even quietly, lands as a personal win, not an institutional adjustment. And yet Charles himself elevated Anne to Councillor of State in November 2022. He armed the very constitutional mechanism that William deployed against Camilla's expanding influence. Charles would look back on this moment and wish they'd made a different call. Because in giving Anne that formal authority, he handed William a tool that was impossible to argue with publicly. £5 million property purchase adjacent to Camilla's Wiltshire estate signals where Charles's private priorities actually live. He is building her a permanent, protected base, a place of comfort and security that exists outside the direct reach of palace politics. That is the action of a man who understands, on some level, that the palace itself may not remain her territory indefinitely. But William is the succession. William is the public face of the monarchy's future. William is the figure upon whom the institution's long-term survival depends. Charles cannot afford to alienate him. Not publicly, not institutionally, not now. And so Charles stayed silent on the Chambers incident. That silence was not passive. It was a verdict. He did not overrule William. And inside the palace, everyone noticed. Anne's role in the new court is not decorative. It is structural. And the full architecture of what she is doing, quietly, methodically, without a single press briefing, is only now becoming visible to those paying close enough attention. Her status as Councillor of State means she can legally act for the king in his absence. That is not a ceremonial footnote. That is a constitutional lever of enormous weight, sitting in the hands of a woman who has demonstrated over 5 decades of royal service that she uses power with surgical restraint. She does not reach for the lever unless the moment demands it. When it demands it, she does not hesitate. Her visit to Ukraine in September 2026, conducted on behalf of the Foreign Office, confirms that Anne is still being trusted with sensitive, high-stakes missions that carry genuine geopolitical weight. This is not a woman being managed into a graceful retirement. This is a woman being actively deployed because she is uniquely reliable in conditions where reliability is everything. Behind the scenes, Anne is reportedly managing delicate family dynamics that extend beyond the Chamber's dispute. Her continued quiet contact with Prince Andrew, navigating his ongoing exclusion from royal life, demonstrates a capacity for handling impossible situations without generating additional damage. And somehow, it gets worse for those who underestimate her, because every one of these quiet operations adds another layer to her institutional authority. Gatcombe Park, her Gloucestershire estate, has been discussed internally as a potential bolt hole, a place where sensitive family conversations can happen outside the surveillance of palace walls. The alliance between William and Anne is not built on warmth. It is built on a shared, uncompromising vision of what the monarchy must be. That shared vision would come back to haunt Camilla's allies, but that's getting ahead of the story. There's a reason this story is still talked about today. Because the dispute over the Queen's private chambers was never actually about rooms. Rooms are just the visible surface. Underneath, this is a war about identity, about whose version of the British monarchy survives into the next generation. Camilla's faction represents a softer court, a more personally comfortable environment shaped around Charles and Camilla's preferences, their rhythms, their relationships. Less rigid, less austere, more forgiving of the human complexity that royal life inevitably generates. There is an argument for that vision. It is not an irrational one. But William's faction represents something altogether different. A leaner institution, a more disciplined public face, a monarchy anchored explicitly in Elizabeth II's model of relentless duty, personal sacrifice, and the subordination of private comfort to public service. William is not nostalgic for the past. He is strategic about the future. And he has identified Elizabeth's legacy as the most durable foundation available. Anne is the living, breathing embodiment of that vision. She does not drink alcohol at public engagements. She maintains a schedule that would exhaust people half her age. She has accumulated 11,000 engagements and 0 personal scandals across 5 decades. She is the proof of concept for the monarchy William intends to build. Every protocol decision made inside the palace right now is a vote being cast for one future or the other. The Chambers incident was a vote. Anne's deployment was a vote. Charles's silence was a vote. And the tally, for anyone watching closely, is not close. William is winning these votes. One quiet, irrevocable decision at a time. Do not make the mistake of reading Camilla as a passive figure in this story. She has survived inside the most hostile institutional environment in Britain for 30 years. She has been publicly despised, privately undermined, and constitutionally complicated. And she is still here, still crowned, still standing. That does not happen to people who do not know exactly what they are doing. Camilla's rehabilitation from public villain to queen was not a natural evolution of public sentiment. It was engineered, carefully, patiently, and with a sophisticated understanding of how British public opinion actually moves. Controlled media access, strategic charitable positioning, the slow, deliberate construction of a warmer, more relatable public image. Every step was calculated. Every appearance was a message. Charles's £5 million property purchase adjacent to her Wiltshire estate is not just a gesture of personal devotion. It is a strategic asset. He is building her a permanent, protected base outside the direct reach of palace politics, a place where her authority cannot be quietly walked back by anyone, including William. That property is her institutional insurance policy. Inside the household, Camilla's staff loyalty is a currency she has spent years accumulating. Her people are embedded in the machinery of palace life. They are not going to evaporate because of a single intervention over access to a set of rooms. The networks she has built are durable, and she knows it. Her counter-move is already in motion. Consolidate outside the palace. Let Charles be her shield. Let William establish his authority inside the building. And then wait. Wait for him to push too far. Wait for the moment when his discipline tips into overreach. Camilla has been waiting before. She knows how to do it. And she is very, very patient. Now, William could have stopped there. They didn't. Because the Chambers incident, as decisive as it was, is not the end of his strategy. It is the opening move. William is not acting out of impatience. He is acting out of institutional necessity, driven by a clear-eyed understanding of what happens to a monarchy that allows the wrong precedents to set. The longer Camilla's influence embeds itself in palace infrastructure, in staff, in access, in the soft architecture of daily operations, the harder it becomes to reverse after Charles is gone. William is not waiting for the transition. He is shaping it now, while there is still time to shape it cleanly. Read that again. He is shaping the transition now. Every move he makes, the Chambers, the protocol decisions, the alliance with Anne, is pre-positioning for a succession that could arrive without warning. Charles's health has been a matter of public concern. The timeline is not guaranteed. William operates as if it could happen tomorrow, because institutionally, it could. Kate's recovery and her return to public duties has strengthened William's hand in ways that are easy to underestimate. A united, visible, future king couple is a formidable institutional force. Kate's presence alongside William reframes every public appearance as a preview of the next reign, and that preview is compelling. The document that leaked next made everything worse for those hoping William might pull back. Reports of further protocol adjustments inside the palace, further consolidation of access and scheduling authority, confirmed that the Chambers incident was not a one-off. It was the beginning of a systematic repositioning. Everything Camilla had built was about to work against her. Because the very embeddedness of her influence, the thing that made her powerful, was now the thing that made her visible. And visibility in palace politics is exposure. The map is drawn, and William's hand is already on the wheel. Monarchy's future is already decided. William made sure of it. Subscribe and watch it unfold.